All right, everybody. We are back this Sunday afternoon here in Atlanta. I have my brother Isaac in Equatorial Guinea in West Africa. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And we're going to be discussing, how people need to stop milking this fake African versus African American beef. And I've given my testimony before how I think the beef is really between Africans in America that leave Africa, come to America, and African Americans. Because again, when I go to Africa, I have no issues. I'm welcome with open arms. People open up their homes to me. Let me eat all the jollof rice, banku, okra soup, all that I want. There's a limited supply for me. So again,
Like if
go ahead, bro. Go ahead, Isaac. Go ahead and introduce yourself, who
like
you
in
are,
Af
and where you're from, and all that good stuff. Go ahead.
my name is Benjamin Isaac Neah. I'm from Philadelphia, raised, born in Ivory Coast. Um, I would like to say that
But tell
when
people,
it comes to this,
but you're in Equatorial Guinea right now, correct?
yeah, I'm in Equatorial Guinea right now, Bakayoko Island.
Okay.
So
But go ahead.
uh, the continental Africans that live on the continent right now, the hospitality is basically the tradition. You can be like any foreigner, it don't matter where you come from, they will treat you like your own. And unless you're willing to embrace the culture and not be ignorant towards it. But if you're ignorant towards it, it's like, okay, you know better than us, then fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
then those those that go to
Go
America
ahead, bro.
is like to them, because once when I went to when coming to I went to Ghana the first time I came to Africa, and the people I met, to them, America is like heaven.
Mm-hmm.
And people are asking me like, you left heaven to come to hell. And I'm looking at them like, are you serious? Like Philadelphia is where I live in Philadelphia is trash.
Right. And I've said that several times. Like Skid Row in Los Angeles is probably the worst I've ever seen in my life. In fact, not probably, it is the worst I've ever seen in my life compared to poverty. I've never seen anything like it in Africa. But Africans, so are Africans in Africa under the impression that America is just Hollywood and New York, and there's money on the streets, and it's the streets of land of milk and honey? Is that what they believe?
It's basically the American dream.
Right.
You're not going to show somebody south side of Chicago.
Uh huh.
They're not going to want to come. But if you show somebody LA, downtown Atlanta, downtown New York, they're going to want to go. So it's
Right.
basically you're selling somebody hope that once they get there, they can become anything and do anything. But then when they get there, they just fall into the system.
Okay. What system? Like when you say the system, what do you mean?
Basically, you work a 9 to 5 just to get by,
Mm-hmm.
and then is rarely it when they come. It's not really they're doing it for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing it for their kids, so that their kids will be the first generation.
Okay.
And and maybe they hope that their kids, what they learn, and if they're given the opportunity, will go back. Most of the time, that's not the case.
Right. So a lot of times the parents in Africa, when their kids make it to America, they're hoping that they come back, but they're not coming back. That's what the issue is. Hello? Ben, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you hear my statement? My
Repeat
question?
yourself.
Yeah. So basically, when African parents send their kids to America, are the expectations for those African kids to come back to Africa? Is that the expectations?
Hold up, my connection bad.
Oh wow. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Start having technical difficulties, guys. We're getting it together.
Hello?
Yeah, right here. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, it's real dark. We really can't see you, but we'll go ahead and roll. So are the expectations, okay, for African kids who come to America, are they expected to come back to Africa and help build?
Really, it's your own choice
Okay.
because you're born there already. So basically, you're American.
Okay.
And like some people say when they go back to Africa, they call names like Akata and Abroni.
Right.
If were to be, and then you leave and go and stay for 10 years, or you can't, and you come back, you'll be called the same.
Okay. So how do Africans feel about Africans who leave Africa for America or for the West? How do they feel about them?
Repeat.
How do Africans feel about Africans who leave Africa for the West? Can you hear me?
No, repeat yourself.
Okay. How do Africans feel about Africans who leave Africa for the West?
Basically, you're giving them an opportunity because, like, you're going somewhere where there's more opportunity for you to better yourself, so you'll be able to help them,
Okay.
and you'll
So
be able to
they're
send money back for them to establish business while they're there.
okay. So they're expecting, the expectation is you better send some money back home.
Basically, and some people don't go back is because if you come to America and you go back with nothing or you didn't accomplish anything, the one thing they're going to think is you failed, you're a failure, or you got locked up and you got deported. Either one of the two.
Okay. Okay. Now you're in Equatorial Guinea. How did you get back? How did you are you just visiting for the holidays in Equatorial Guinea?
My father worked here.
Okay, so you're there with your father.
Yeah.
Okay. What did your father do?
A network engineer.
Okay. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. What what do you think is behind this beef or so-called beef, imaginary beef between Africans who leave Africa to come to America and Black Americans? Like what do you think that's all about?
Propaganda.
Propaganda? Is that your father right there in the background?
Yes, sir.
Hi, how you doing, sir? Mr. Neah,
I'm
how are
fine, and
you?
you?
I'm doing well. So you're,
Great.
this is a little bit off topic. So you're a network engineer and you're now in Equatorial Guinea.
Yes.
Okay. So a Black American, all right, who is interested in leaving America, how would they find an opportunity like the one you have in Equatorial Guinea to be a network engineer? Because a lot of people want to leave America. I know a lot of Black people that want to leave America and relocate to Africa, but you know, they're looking for jobs. They're like, oh, we need to find a job. We need to find a job. Now, do you work for yourself or are you part of a corporation?
I work for a corporation.
Okay. Okay. So is your corporation based in America?
They are African based, but
Okay,
they
the
have a
African.
branch. They have a branch in the United States.
Really? Okay. So if someone was
Branch
interested in working for this
office.
company, branch office, so would they need to uh so in order to get a job with this company, do they need to go through headquarters in Africa or can they go through the African branch if they were interested?
No, they can go directly through the US branch. In fact, at the moment we need to hire at least one person to join the office. Our office is in Michigan, and
Michigan? Okay.
so center we are looking for somebody to hire in the meantime to start up the office, and then gradually we have to increase the number, but at least one person to
Okay.
start.
Okay. And if you don't mind me asking, what's the name of the company?
IPX.
IPX.
Yeah, X as in xylophone.
Okay. And what city in Michigan is the headquarters again?
How do you call this place? Detroit.
Detroit. Okay. So IPX in Detroit.
It's IPX USA, and what we have in Equatorial Guinea is IPX Equatorial Guinea.
Okay. So IPX USA. So people who are interested, who are network engineers. Okay, here we go. 1,000 Town Center, Southfield,
Yes.
Michigan. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay. So people who are listening to this stream, all right, if you are interested in relocating that now, okay, now will this person be based in America or will they be able to relocate to Africa?
No, they have to be based in America. They are not going to relocate to Africa.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So there's no opportunities for them to go to Africa if they were to apply for this job and get hired.
They may have to come to Africa for maybe for some training, or maybe to visit the Africa office, but they don't have to relocate. But
okay, but what if they wanted to relocate?
If they are interested in relocating, that arrangement may be made and they can be relocated. That's depending on the plan of the corporation.
Okay, but they could,
because the company is now going global. We are extending to Chad and Congo, so people may be moving here and there, and so that will be an opportunity for people who want to relocate.
Okay, so if someone who was interested in relocating to the Congo that lived in America, do they have to be a French speaker? Number one, do they have to speak French?
It'll be an advantage, but you don't have to be, because a lot of professional people in the African countries speak English. So
okay. So, but if somebody who lived in America locating the Congo, if they applied for this job in America, they can ask the corporation like, hey, I'm interested in filling the open position in Congo. And there's a possibility that they could get that job in Congo.
If you're qualified. If you're qualified, yes.
Oh, if you're qualified. Okay. All right, cool. All right. So people, this is an example of Black Americans and Africans networking. So now there's an opportunity on the table for you guys to possibly, if you're interested in relocating to the Congo, to interview for this job. So you have the information now, is out there. There you go. Daniel, I appreciate the super chat, brother. Thank you so much. So, Ben, let's get back to the subject matter. So the beef, you said it's propaganda. Where does this propaganda originate from, you think?
Basically, how would I put it? If you were to have a united home, it's not easy for a stranger to walk in and put you against each other. But if you're not together already, he can come in and he can just say something to somebody in his ear and then go to the next person in his ear, and then you both hate each other.
Right. So you're saying you think it's being pushed so we don't unite?
Yes.
Okay. Absolutely. So what are some of the, I would say, issues that Africans who come to America have with Black Americans, so-called issues? Like, what have you heard?
That Africans have with Black Americans?
Yeah, when they come to America.
How would I put it? It's hard for me to speak for somebody else because
Well, I mean, from what you heard, from what you heard, like what kind of issues do you think are complaints do Africans have about Black Americans when they come?
It's not really complaints. It's just that it's the stereotype that they come with already.
Okay, and what are those stereotypes?
Drug dealers, lazy. What else? Strippers. Some are gay. Other stuff like this and that.
Okay, so basically, from what you guys get over here, or when you guys get to America, you're told that Black people are lazy, gay, sell drugs, strip, and that's the stereotype from what you've heard.
It's basically like if you're watching TV and then all you see is Rick Ross videos and DJ Khaled videos.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all you see about a certain type of people. That's what you're gonna believe that they do.
Right.
But like say BET.
Okay. Right.
There's a cable company called DSTV here in Africa. It is global on the continent. And if BET was supposed to use that to project positive thing about Black Americans on the continent, it would help.
Okay. But now, this is my issue. So when I come to Africa, the images, a lot of the images that are being projected on BET about Black Americans, Africans celebrate it. So I hear a lot of Africans when I come to Africa who listen to a lot of trap music. There are a lot of Africans who listen to a lot of trap music here in America. But then from what I'm gathering is you guys will use that, or some of you all, not all of you all, will leverage that and justify stereotyping us. Why is that, do you think?
When you say that, when you say that is mostly the younger generation that is influenced by the music and the fashion.
Okay.
The older generation could care less.
Okay. But you're saying the older generation, they're like, no.
They're basically old school.
Right. Okay. Okay. And then as far as Black Americans, what have you heard Black Americans say about Africans in regards to the stereotypes of them not wanting to, I guess, deal with Africans?
The one that really I don't really understand is that your ancestors sold us into slavery.
Okay, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
Because
So what are your thoughts when Africans say that? I mean, African Americans say that Africans sold us into slavery. What are your thoughts on that?
my thoughts is before there was even slavery, what were your ancestors? They were Africans.
Okay.
And then back in history, it says Africans and sold each other. So if my tribe and your tribe are beefing with each other and we're selling each other, both tribes go end up in the same boat. And then it's like after they end up on the same boat, and then you wait 400 years later, and then you say, well, the people that stayed on the continent, they sold us.
Brother, can you repeat that one more time? I'm sorry.
It's like, say I'm from a tribe.
Right.
And you're from a tribe.
Okay.
And we're beefing. Correct. And we're selling each other. I sell your sister into slavery, and you sell my brother into slavery. Correct. Your brother and my sister are on the same boat.
Correct.
So who's the blame? And if we stay here, if say we never get taken and we stay here, and our sisters and brothers go to America on a slavery boat, and then their kids, as 400 years later, say onto my kids that, oh, you sold us onto slavery, when you're really living amongst yourselves that we both sold us into slavery, and you're amongst yourselves.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so basically what you're saying is Black Americans who say that that Africans sold us into slavery don't understand the true dynamic of what really went on.
Yeah, you're basically trying to say, well, we were a special tribe, and we were the only tribe that was sold.
Right.
Like the Hebrew Israelites.
Correct. Go ahead. Let's speak on that. Go ahead. How do you feel about the Hebrew Israelites?
Personally, I just feel like they're ignorant and they spread hate.
Okay.
And then when you try to use the Bible to spread hate, and then how would I put it? Some people are going to say that same Bible was used against us to enslave us, but then you're going to use the same Bible to claim something and spread hate.
Right. Hmm. Let's see if we got any questions in the chat room. Mata, what do you mean? No, that's not right. That's not how it happened. So Fannin said, yeah, you're right. The only people who benefited from during the slave trade our infighting was the Europeans. How do you feel about that?
It's true. Because even when they did end slavery, what came after slavery? Colonization.
Mm-hmm.
So they had everything planned out. It's basically, we're going to take a number of people away, so they're weak now, and we can easily take them over. Now we have control over them on the continent and off the continent.
Mm. Are you coming back to America, or are you going to stay in Africa?
I will be coming back.
Oh, when you coming back? And like, and why would you come back? That's my question. Why would you come back?
For one, economically, so financially stable to come back
Mm-hmm.
and probably build a house and then other businesses.
Okay. Okay. So how can we put to rest this? Because I mean, there's so many different videos up, you know, Africans versus African Americans, and I feel like we're beating a dead horse. You know, how can we put this beast to rest? Like, what do we need to do to stop it?
Can I make a point, please?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes. I think the African American listening to me on this program should take the initiative and visit Africa.
Say that word. I want you to say that one more time because there were tickets. Listen, I'll post it the link. Round trip from New York to Ivory Coast for $318. Okay. I had so many people giving the excuses on why they weren't going to buy the ticket. And these are people who, you know, so-called want to come to Africa so bad that they either can't afford it or whatnot. They had every excuse in the book on why not to buy the ticket for $318 now round trip. So I'm to the point now. I just think a lot of people just don't want to come to Africa. All right, but again, go ahead and finish your statement.
Yes. So what I'm saying is that I expect a lot of the Black American, the Black American or the African American.
You know, hey, we have another brother on the line with us too, but go ahead and finish your statement, brother.
Yeah. So the reason I believe the African Americans should come to Africa to is experience the way Africans think about you, can feel about you. I know a couple of people who once visited and they saw the relief, of returning home and made their own establishment, built houses, and relocated to Africa. Now, we are talking about Africans selling African. Who is the African that wrote that history that Africans sold African? That record was not written by any African. Those records were written by the European and the Americans. How true is it that what they have written is the reality, is the true story of what happened in the past? How sure are we that they did not force the people into slavery and claiming that they were sold by their brothers? And it only takes one generation. So I believe that those of us in Africa, we appreciate our African brothers. No matter what it is, no matter how long you stay in America, no matter how long you stay in Europe, no matter how successful you are, they still refer to you as African. No matter how. So I think African Americans should start to associate themselves with Africa and the people of Africa. Because Africa needs great people like you. The population in Europe, the African population in Europe and America, if we all return with our ideas, great.
we're going to make Africa great.
Not only that,
Mm.
but ideas and same money, same continent, and turn it back to America to help the people that they are already in the same economy.
So right now, we are building the American economy, we are building the European economy, and so part of that. All the wars going around in Africa, who are those instigating those wars? Who are those instigating those political regime change and all those stuff? There are people behind this, and there are reasons why they are behind this. Is to humiliate us, the African. So, to my African American brothers who are listening, we are willing to receive you. We are happy to see you. We care about you, and we trust we as Africans need to be together and work together. No matter your location, no matter where you are African. And it's always going to follow you. People will always refer to you as African. You are an American.
Hey, Kashan,
You were born in America, you have the American passport, you are American. Why wouldn't they say American? And they still refer to you as African American. It's because this is your origin, this is your home, this is where you come from.
All right. I guess Kashan, you're in the chat room. Your question was answered. Tasha, trying to organize a trip to Africa is like trying to organize a trip to the moon. You're just gonna have to just buy your ticket and go by yourself. You'll be okay. The brother Sekou just came online, and Sekou, do you see the subject? What we're talking about?
Definitely, I see. It's about the propaganda to divide African Americans and African Caribbeans from sub-Saharan Africans, and
Okay.
I think
What are your thoughts on it?
that's a European social construct to divide our people. You know, that's something that we just have to fight against. I mean, we know that it's not real, but if we give power to it, then they got us. It's that simple. I mean, we know it's not real. We know we can susu our money. We know we can come together. We know we can build if we really want to. And they play games with our mind. They try to brainwash us. They try to turn us against each other. They try to make us believe that we not one.
Okay. So let me ask you this, Sekou. Why do you think people continue to feed this African versus African American beef? You'll see so many YouTube videos. Why don't Africans get along with African Americans? Like, and it's coming from our people. Like, they have these fake, panels and discussions on it. Why are we continuing to feed it?
On a certain level, African Americans have a high level of ignoramus or ignorant knowledge about Africa, about West Africa, about East Africa, about South Africa. They don't know themselves, and they need to be taught. We need to learn from y'all. We need to learn from our West African brothers and sisters. And I would say that Dynasty Amir is probably the only one that's in 2018 that's bringing this social paradigm to the forefront of the future. And this is what's needed. So there's not a lot of avenues, there's not a lot of social constructs for us by us that African Americans are creating to connect with Africa. And by virtue of that, that's the reason why we can't come together. It's all about the mind. It's all about the mind, And we don't have that definitive purpose of positive thought about being African. So that's how the enemy got us, and that's been going on since the 60s, since the civil rights era. It's been going on for years, that's something that they wanted to do to us, and it worked. And now we have all these religions, all these people that claim they from Israel, the Hebrew Israelites. We got all these, they don't want to accept that they West African. They don't want to accept who their ancestors, So we have all these socially inaccurate paradigms that are confusing our people, that are confusing our children, and that's why I'm here. We have to fight against it. You know, that's why we got Dynasty here. You know, we're trying to fight against it. The spirit of the ancestors, the Babalaos, the Ialaos that know the truth, we're fighting against it. And that's what this is about.
This how now your parents from Ghana and Nigeria, correct?
I did that research for myself. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. My father, his family is from West Virginia, and by virtue of the knowledge that I did, they came from Nigeria. So I did that knowledge for myself. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, born and raised. You know, my family. I'm African American, but on where my ancestors come from, on both sides of my family.
Okay.
You know, my mother's Afro-Caribbean, my father's African American. But I did the knowledge for myself on who I am, you know.
Okay. Hey,
Facts.
so Isaac, when your father first came to America?
He hasn't been
What?
there.
Oh, your father hasn't been to America.
Repeat that.
I'm saying so your father has not been to America.
No.
Okay, so Isaac, tell us your story. How did you end up in America?
He could better explain that than I can explain that.
Say that one more time.
Isaac went to America at the age of 1.
Okay.
Isaac went to America at the age of 1
Okay.
with his mother on a refugee resettlement.
Okay.
And gained every necessary status over the period.
Okay.
I have not been to America, neither have I even been to the embassy for interview before. No.
Okay. Let me ask, do you plan on coming to America at any point?
Yes. If I can get an invitation today, I'll come and see America.
Okay. Now, would
I
you live
understand
in
how
America?
things are there. Live in America, I cannot say yes, neither can I say no, because I don't know what is America. So I cannot look in the blue sky and decide I will live in America or I want to live in America based on what? Nothing.
Okay. So what are your initial thoughts on, or what are your thoughts on African Americans from I don't know how much contact you've had with them or from what you've seen on TV? How do you feel about Black Americans?
I feel Black Americans are great people. I feel Black Americans are Africans. And I think where they are is not their original home. And they have a home called Africa. They should remember there is a place called Africa where they come from, where they are respected, and where they are accepted with all rights.
That's powerful. How do you feel about Black Americans who are renouncing that they are African or saying that they're Aboriginals or originally from America or are not from Africa, or that, you know, me and your son already briefly talked about it. They say that they don't like Africans because Africans sold us into slavery. How do you feel about that group of Black Americans?
My brother, that's their opinion. That's their opinion. That's how they think, and that's how they feel. But that's the question I asked earlier. This selling of African into slavery, who recorded this history?
Right.
African or American and European?
Correct.
We did not record a history. They wrote the history, and they are telling us what they want us to know.
Right.
Telling us what they want us to know. The reality is in the background. So if we African will think that other Africans sold them into slavery, therefore they denounce Africa, well, so be it. But I mean, okay. If you say Africans sold you into slavery to America, and America used you as slave, to become rich, to become worthy. And today they still have laws that are preventing you from getting to certain levels in society.
Mm.
And you choose to associate yourself with American than African? Come on.
You teaching.
Honestly, can I say something?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, at this point in our progression as a socially conscious people, as African Americans, African Caribbeans, I feel that it's absolutely insane for us to not be trying to connect with who we are. I mean, it's insanity. I mean, at this point, it's like it's no excuse. It's like it's just straight ignorance, you know. But I think that it's something that people are doing for financial reasons, for social reasons. You know, they feel there's no benefit in connecting with their ancestors and their roots. How, you know, the mentality is, how can this make me grow now in the future? Even though they may have knowledge that it's true, they're not gonna acknowledge it if they're not gonna gain anything. You gotta understand, America is a capitalist society. So how can I capitalize from being African? That's the question the African American will ask himself. If I can't capitalize from being African, not everybody's gonna be Dinosaur Man. Not everybody's gonna be Sekou and Kosi or Kosi. Not everybody's gonna be true to themselves. Not everybody has that. That's gonna be true to their. They're gonna be true to their ancestors, true to who they are because they've been brainwashed. You know, and this is what society does. You know, society gives you a fake version of yourself so that you can't find your definitive purpose. You can't define yourself, and that's how they control you. You know, and the worst enemy to that is positive thoughts that help you arrive to your definitive purpose. And if you don't know who your ancestors are, you don't know what your human history is. How can you arrive to your definitive purpose? That's true for every human being, every African, sub-Saharan, Afro-Caribbean, and Afro-American. We all have to acknowledge our ancestors, acknowledge our past, and build our future and build a social paradigm that benefits who we really are in our life continuum. If we don't do that, then we've been had. We're going to continue to be had. And you know, Europeans are going to continue to take advantage of our ignorance, which is the devil's greatest power, is ignorance and fear. Your ignorance and fear is the devil's greatest weapon against you. Content with being ignorant, you're content with not knowing who you are, then you're content with the power that society has over you. And when I say the devil, I don't mean anyone from any human family. I mean society. Whatever society you in that doesn't educate you, that's what I mean. So to a degree, we all miseducated about who we are, about each other, and we all brainwashed. And take we have to acknowledge that we've been brainwashed, and we have to try to educate ourselves and restabilize who we are. And you know, we're not going to get that from religion. Is going to take you away from the reality about who your true history, who you really are. Happens, a lot of our people, even the sub-Saharan Africans, they get caught up in Jesu, and you know, they want to be Jews, they want to be Christians. But how does that help you connect with your ancestors? How does that help you connect with your definitive purpose, with your life's purpose? How does that help your future? How does that help you buy land? How does that help you build resources? How does that help you know who you are? Anytime where you believing in something outside of yourself, it's a form of slavery. And Africans on the other side of the world are still in a form of slavery. You know, if they you know, they're still under a social construct that divides them from their people, they're still under slavery. And African Americans are still under a form of slavery. And the only way we can free ourselves is when we do workshops like this. We continue to build spiritually, and we continue to help each other grow. You know, because if we're not doing that, then we're adding to the problem in the future. You know, and it's going to keep going. You know, that's just the reality. So I mean, you know, our fear and our ignorance is being used against us on both sides of the world. You know, Donald Trump, he's saying he wants African Americans not to realize the resource of Africa. You know, he wants to brainwash African Americans to think that their ancestors and where they come from is not is not is not going to help them flourish and not going to help them grow. And a lot of African Americans and African people don't realize the greatest power that Europeans ever had was buying land, buying dirt, realizing the power in dirt and realizing the power in land. In the future,
Just stealing it.
it's exactly. So they brainwashed us to believe that we ain't shit and where we come from ain't shit, so that they could benefit off it, and we buy into it. So that's the foundation of what it is, you know. And we got brothers, we got powerful brothers trying to help. We got brothers like Dr. Umar Johnson, brothers like Dinah Samir. We got powerful brothers. We got powerful sisters, you know, divine feminine, powerful sisters that like Queen Afua. You know what I'm saying? We got powerful people in our community that are trying to connect the dots, that are trying to resurrect what we are. And we fight against it all the time by going to churches, going to, you know, what white boys are doing, going into church in South Carolina and shooting black people up. Well, I mean, you know, we should already know that, yo, this is not your people. This is not your God. Why are you worshiping that for? We should already know that. We've seen the history. We know who we are. So it's a how should I say? It's a fight to brainwash the future minds of our people. And they're gonna continue to feed us bullshit propaganda to brainwash and keep us from knowing who we are. And if we eat it up, then we're gonna continue to regurgitate ignorance. And that's what they want. They love, you know, they love ignorance and they want us to love ignorance. They created the nigga. The nigga is a creation. You know, the white people created the nigga. The whole concept of reducing a god and turning a god into a nigga. White people done that. And they're going to continue to do that if we continue to let them. Not realize that the sacred, divine men and women that we always have been, the originators of the human family. You originated the human family. You know, we the first people on the planet. But if we don't realize that, then it is what it is.
Hey, Isaac, let me ask you this. In history, because basically when we deal with African history here in America, growing up in the school system, we're taught that, I mean, it was just wild animals. People were inferior, and slaves, that's where we came from. When we talk about history, what
And the
are
funny thing
Africans? Say that one more time.
The funny thing is, they'll
Go ahead.
go out their way, they teach Chinese history and
True.
ancient Chinese history. What does that have to do with America
True.
and the foundation of
Nothing.
America?
Nothing. What are in African schools in Africa, what are they taught about their their brothers who were pretty much kidnapped and shipped over here? Because from what I've noticed, slavery isn't really taught in African schools. Is that true or not?
I wouldn't know.
Slavery is taught in African school. The African history stated that yes, over this period there was slave trade ongoing in Africa, and several reasons why the slave trade was ongoing. But all these history were written by American and European. Those stories were not stories from our ancestors. So we were taught those history, we believe them, and that's what we live. But my question is, are these stories true? or were they make up? I mean, so that there will be African American can feel that who sold them into slavery. In those days, what were our people looking for? How much, what were they looking for which they would sell humans? I mean, if you have visited Africa, you know and understand how Africans appreciate human life.
Yes. Correct. How is it living in Equatorial Guinea?
Come again?
I was asking, how is it living in Equatorial Guinea?
Well, it's okay. It's cool.
Okay.
I'm African origin. I am from Liberia.
Okay.
And I came purposely for work. Therefore, the company is responsible for my living allowance, transportation, housing, and everything I do is just to work and occasionally socialize to get myself rejuvenated. And tell me,
Shout out to Liberia. I met some incredible Liberian people in Staten Island. You know what I'm saying? Incredible.
Incredible.
Shout out to Liberia.
Liberian people in Staten Island. We met incredible Liberian people in Staten Island.
Staten Island, yeah, Staten Island, New York. It's a lot of Africans in Staten Island. Shout out to Staten Island.
I'm sorry. Dara, what is that? I'm talking to you.
I was gonna ask,
the Liberians that I met, you know, a lot of them are into music. You know, they really into music. And they're great people. You know?
Yeah, they're great.
I was named after Sekou Touré from Guinea. Sekou Touré was a great African president. He was one of the fathers of independence in West Africa.
There's a lot of background noise. Okay, there we go.
Not coming from my side. Yeah.
No. I think it was coming from Isaac, but go ahead. Go ahead, brother.
Thanks. Yeah, I was raised in Brooklyn, New York. My father named me Sekou after Sekou Touré, African president, a West African president who was about independence from the French, because father Sumori Touré actually went to war with the French and actually he fucked the French up. So Sekou already had the mindset of independent Africa be free, because this is a documentary on YouTube called How Europeans Divided Africa, and this is in the 1800s. So this is when Europeans, I think it was called, they called it the Scramble for Africa. This is when Europeans went into Africa and they started killing up a whole bunch of Africans and taking over land. So Samori Touré, Sekou's father, wasn't having it. He was a warrior. You feel me? So his son,
hold on. My bad. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
Yeah, Sekou Touré was a warrior. His father, Samori Touré, was a warrior. Samori Touré, I think he waged war. I think they waged war against Guinea, the French, and he destabilized the French for a long time and didn't allow them to take over his territory. So Sekou Touré was naturally born with that spirit of war to fight against European imperialism. Because what happened to West Africa, and I don't want to say, you know, because you have Alassane Ouattara of the Ivory Coast, you have all these presidents, but what happened to West Africa was they became puppets of the French. Basically, the French, you know, colonialized. But Sekou Touré, he wasn't a puppet. He was an independent African, and he was strong. He fought for something. Now I meet a lot of Africans, you know what I'm saying, that are from Guinea, that tell me killed a lot of people. He was bad. He killed a lot of intelligent people in the country. But then I meet a lot of Africans from Guinea that say Sekou Touré gave our country independence. He was a great president. So from my knowledge of Africa, there was four really great people in our struggle for independence in West Africa. Kwame Nkrumah, Sylvanus Olympio of Togo, Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, Sekou Touré of Guinea, and of course the great Patrice Lumumba of the Congo. These people were educated by Europeans, but they fought against the European socialism to bring freedom and power to their people. We going through the same thing right now. You know, we always gonna have to fight our enemies. They always gonna be our psychological enemies because of what happened to us in history. They always been. So we always gonna have to fight for who we are. And that's what this is about. That's what this is about.
There's a lot of background noise. Hold on.
My brothers in Africa, I love you. I got great love for you. I don't blame you for slavery. I don't buy into that propaganda. We need to focus on the future. We need to unite. We need to change our mindset. We need to stop talking about slavery. Stop talking about what happened in the past. We need to focus on the future and focus on building for the future. If we don't have that mindset, then we're gonna be had. We can either be each other's worst enemy, or we can be each other's greatest ally. That's how I see it.
And there's Isaac. There's a lot of background noise. Is there a way you could go to another room or?
I think that we should put a lot of emphasis on our enemies, whether they be black or white, that are trying to keep us in the mentality that we're not the same. That, to me, I think we should focus on how the ones that are conscious of the fact that they are African in America, the African Caribbeans, that we can come together, you know, because we're being educated about people like Thomas Sankara from Burkina Faso. He turned Upper Nile Volta to Burkina Faso, the land of upright men, and then he was killed by Blaise Compaoré, his best friend, supposedly best friend, who got brainwashed by. Yes, sir. Got brainwashed.
No, I was agreeing with you. I said, yep.
Yeah, got brainwashed by the French, you know, and then he got brainwashed, became a French puppet, and he did a coup d'etat and killed Thomas Sankara in 1987. You know what I mean? And then when that happened, they did an uprising. They tried to get at Blaise Compaoré in 2014, and he fled to the Ivory Coast. We have a large amount of Africans that are not for our cause on both sides, on the sub-Saharan side and an American and Caribbean side. They're not for the cause of our unity. They feel more benefit that it's more beneficial to continue to empower European thought and to continue to empower their enemies. They feel that it's more beneficial for them to do that than empower their own people. And we got to be honest with ourselves about that, you know, that we chose the side of coming together, but there's a lot of our people that have not chosen that, you know. Even in Africa, you have the Africans that call African Americans Abrino in Ghana for white men, or the Nigerians that call African Americans Akata. So I
can tell you the reason behind that.
Yes, sir.
The majority reason behind that is basically in Africa, America, and all of Europe is a white man's land. It's basically how their mind is set up. So if you come from a white man's land, no matter if you're black or whatever, it's basically you think like a white man, you act like a white man. You're a white man.
I totally understand that. I totally understand that, sir. Totally. And that's the reason why, you know, I speak Yoruba. Like, you know, I'm studying, I'm speaking African languages, You know, that's exactly the reason why, you know, I could say that I'm really African American. Like, I'm really studying African culture. My religion is Ifa. You know what I mean? My focus
And,
is to enhance my African spirituality. You know what I mean? But go ahead, sir.
and like most people, like I seen a documentary where people came back and she was in the market trying to tell the market people what to do. And when you do that, it's like you're making it seem that they don't know anything. And when you do that, it resents hates towards you. And some people, when you do resort hate towards one person, they make it generally.
Sir, where are you from, sir?
I was born in Ivory Coast, but I was raised in Philly and
That's what's
Virginia.
up. That's what's up. Shout out to the Ivory Coast. I know it's
I'll
I
be in
know the
Ivory Coast. I'll
president.
be in Ivory Coast in September. In September, I know it's a long way. It'll be here quicker than you think, than you know it. But I'll be in Ivory Coast in September.
Facts. Shout out to the Ivory Coast. Continue, sir. I'll continue. Elaborate on your experience, sir. I'm listening. Ivory Coast.
Well, when I was in Ivory Coast, I was a baby, so I don't really know anything about Ivory Coast. So all my life, like I came to Africa in 2015. I've been here ever since. I'm headed to Liberia by the beginning of next month.
Totally understand.
And a lot of
Now,
African Americans should understand, written in the Liberian Constitution, it says that any Negro is a citizen of Liberia.
Say that again. People need to hear that.
Any Negro.
totally understand Liberia's history. I did the knowledge on Liberia. Liberia was the place that was built for African Americans that returned to Africa, and there was a great war. There was wars, civil wars fought between the African Americans that came from slavery to return to Africa. I don't remember the exact date, and the Africans that was already there. So
Oh, that's
the
not
Africans,
the whole
Americans that
story.
were trying.
The whole
Yes,
story
sir.
is
Say
like
again.
this. How do I put it?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
When the descendants came back, they themselves were segregated through colorism. You had the mulattoes that was mixed with white, the full Africans that wasn't mixed. And the mulattoes, for the most part, ran Liberia. And
Right.
in certain parts of Liberia, if your skin was darker, you couldn't go to certain parts of Monrovia. And that was a time when the rest of the other indigenous tribes were never in a part of Liberia. They weren't considered Liberians.
Wow. So
It's
that's like
over.
a caste in
You
Africa.
got to
in
understand the
Liberia.
first, like Liberia had, and they claimed the guy was mixed, but he was obviously white. Like, I want to say, like, the first president of Liberia was a white guy, a white American. I mean, they say he was mixed, but
Seen it. I seen it. Yep. I seen it. I know what you're talking about.
and then like a
Facts.
number of the presidents were, I mean, they were mulattoes
Facts.
and white, the early presidents.
And before the indigenous people chose to become part of Liberia, they made it sure that within the Constitution, no land can be sold to a white man. That's why it says in the Constitution, every Negro or descendants of Negro is a citizen of Liberia.
That's powerful. I mean, we're gonna let's see here, see if we got any more questions in the but Sekou, I'll let you go ahead and close it out, then Isaac, I'll let you close out as well. What solution can we give? Because I keep seeing this again. This, I call it clickbait. Africans versus African Americans. You know,
I'm very thankful to my brother Dinah Samir for allowing me to come on this hangout about this topic specifically, because this is something I'm passionate about. You know, us as a people uniting. You know, Thomas Sankara tried to do it. Malcolm X tried to do it. Thomas Sankara was at the Harriet Theater Tubman, the Harriet Tubman Theater in Harlem, trying to unite Africans and African Americans in 1987 before he was assassinated, before he went back to his own country and got killed by his own people. Malcolm X
right.
wanted to unite Africans and African Americans. He started his organization, and that was the focus. El-Haj Malik al-Shabazz, when he left the Nation of Islam, his focus was to unite Africans and African Americans. He started his own company, his own organization before he was killed. So we know that this school of thought is the most positive school of thought, the most dangerous school of thought, and the most school of thought that's under attack when it comes to African people alike, whether they sub-Saharan, whether they Afro-Caribbean, or whether they African American. They don't want you to love yourself. They don't want you to love who you are. They don't want you to worship your ancestors, a Jew, Christian, or Muslim, and they want you to have a mentality that doesn't benefit you and your family. So we need to know that, you know, and educating ourselves on Africa is very important. The history of Liberia, history of Guinea, history of Togo, history of Ghana, history of Nigeria. This is our history. Our history is not in Mesopotamia. It's not in Israel. It's not in Saudi Arabia. Our history is in West Africa. So we need to educate ourselves on West Africa. And that's just the bottom line. That's just the reality. You know, I mean, we have the mentality in America that this country is supposed to care about us. Why should we have the mentality? They use us for slavery. So why should we even care or want to have the mentality for them to care about us? Our mentality should be to care about our homeland, which is Africa.
Right.
Brother Akon is the man. Yo, he got solar panels in Senegal. He's making 21 million a year. He's the man in Senegal. And he came, did American music. He didn't even have to, he came to America, did American music, and went back to Africa to build his own people. This is the mentality that African Americans need to have. Build your own people. This is who you are. This is you. You are an African. You are West African. You know, this is what Europeans fought against. They wanted to brainwash you so that they could steal your resources, so that they can make their descendants rich and make you poor. What we have to do is build our own homeland and love ourselves. You know, get your passport. You need to travel. You need to find out who you are. You need to build who you are. This is the most important thing. And it's just the reality, you know. I mean, you have to be a psychological warrior for yourself. If you're not, then you're gonna be a slave to Eurocentric dogma for the next 100 years. It's gonna every generation is gonna continue. We don't continue to change it, you know. And I would say Thomas Sankara, and I know Brother O'Shea said it, and I give him all credit for saying it. He was one of the greatest black men to ever have lived. Thomas Sankara, one of the greatest black men to ever have. And he's a great example for us African Americans, sub-Saharan Africans, and Afro-Caribbeans. You know, and you know we need to understand that it's a purge. I'm Jamaican. I'm Trinidadian. I'm American. I don't like you. It's a purge. They created all of these. You know, it's true. Okay, we went to certain parts of the world, certain lands, and we're proud of who we are. We're national. I'm a Jamaican. I'm a Caribbean. I'm a Haitian. But we need to return to Africa now. The time is now for us to return to who we are. That's the reality. You know, I do my thing. I'm an astrologer. You know, I do readings. My Instagram is Irawi Faith Facts. And my goal is to help build the African spirit, Africans for Africans. I'm not charging a whole lot of money for a reading. My readings are $25. But my goal is to help us build who we are, help us return to who we are. And that's the reality. I'm for my people. That's it. I'm for my people, for my human family. That's what I represent. And I love my people. I love my land. I love my homeland.
Let me give a shout out to a couple people real quick. Scorpio Sexy, thank you so much for the super chat. Nadoop, thank you for the super chat as well. And Daniel, I know you contributed earlier in the stream. Thank you so much for the super chat. Everybody, the Patreon is up. I don't know why it's not working in the chat when I post it, but it's it's functioning. It's working. It's search patreon.com/search for who. That's it. So I don't know why the link's not working in the chat. But let me ask you this question, Sekou, and I'm gonna give it to Isaac. So what can we do, or what needs to be done? And Isaac, you can answer the same question and close out as well after Sekou. For people to stop feeding this narrative, this false narrative of this fake African versus African American beef.
What we can do is we can increase our definitive purpose by educating our people on who their ancestors are. The ultimate enemy of the social construct or the social paradigm is your ancestors. Ancestors. If they can get you to hate who you are, it's through your ancestors. They can tell you it's a sin to worship your ancestors. The sin is evil. You know, that's what people like Martin Luther, early theologians did when they established their churches, is they made you ashamed of who you were so that they could brainwash you to be who they wanted you to be. And that's the foundation of it. Your ancestors. You know who your ancestors are. You know what your future is. That's your ancient future. Your ancestors is your ancient future. So, you know, I think that Africans, I feel bad because I've been to a couple Nigerian clubs and I met some young, beautiful African ladies, and their mentality was, you're not African. You know what I mean? Because they've been brainwashed. So I didn't curse them. I didn't feel negative towards them because they've been brainwashed. They've been made to be ignorant. And that's just like me. I've been made to be ignorant, but because of my divine heritage and because of my love for my ancestors and who I am, I was able to, you know, my divine masculine spirit, I was able to return to the God that's within myself and the power of God that's within my people. And I was able to find out who I was. You know what I mean? That's why I'm here. And that's exactly what we got to do. We got to return to who we are, the essence of who we are. We got to empower each other. We have to work for ourselves. We got to be independent. You know what I mean? So, and that's the reality, you know? So I'm an astrologer by trade. I'm a numerologist by trade. Um, that's what I do. And I give very good readings, very extensive readings. I spend about an hour and a half, 2 hours just on you. You know, I do natal charts, I do forecast charts. And it's all about you finding out who you are, accepting who you are, building resources for yourself, working for yourself, which is something that we have to do. We got to work for ourselves. We have to be our own. We have to build ourselves. That's what this whole thing is about. Our powerful sisters, you know what I'm saying, the divine feminine sisters with the natural hair trying to return to their consciousness. They need to study more about Africa. They need to understand more about their ancestors. You know, they need to stop being Christians. You know, they need to stop being down with these religions that don't teach them about their ancestors because they can't connect to Africa. And that's the problem. So I see very beautiful sisters, natural hair, and I love y'all, but I want y'all to return to the essence of your ancestors, return to Ifa, you know, return to African spirituality. And then from returning to African spirituality, then you can return to Africa. Then you can buy a passport and realize that, you know, you're supposed to try to build your homeland, you know. That's the goal. When you get your resources, when you get your papers, go back home. That's the ultimate goal. Go home. Rebuild home. Don't you know, we got the IRS here. We got all these things to take our money here in America. Make your money here, go back home, rebuild home. That's what we have to do. That's the foundation. That's exactly what we have to do.
Mm.
You know,
All right.
Samir, peace, Samir. You know what I'm saying?
No, no problem. Isaac, go ahead. You have the final say.
I would like to say that she should unite as one. We should start writing our own history and not what the white man write. Because there's a lot of times where if a black man do something, nobody will acknowledge it until the white man say, yeah, he did that right.
Facts. I agree. Write
And
our own history.
it's hurting us.
Facts. Exactly. I
So
agree.
those who sincerely want to come back to Africa, it will help African people because right now, as I can speak for myself, African people are losing their culture
Mm.
on the continent. They're like trying to be westernized is like a new wave. Everybody wants, if you're not westernized, you're not civilized. Basically. And for them to find people that is intrigued within the culture, to them is basically nothing. That's all they know. The culture isn't like really worth nothing to them. But if they see the other people that's like hungry for that missing culture within them, it will revive that culture and bring back the African spirit.
Well, we have our Babangawos and our Iangawos in Togo, the Vodun culture. They are very, very alive and very well. We have the Shanti Twi in Ghana. They are a spiritual dominant force, very powerful. I've been to an Akon before. Shout out to Ghana. Very powerful experience. We have African spirituality. We have it. We don't want it. The problem is we have to want it. It's up to us to want it.
And the people that's hurting the most.
Great example because he wants African spirituality, but he's only one man. We need more help. We need more people down for African spirituality.
Go ahead, Isaac. Go ahead and finish your statement. Then we'll go ahead and close out.
And the people who's hurting the most is the youth
Mm-hmm.
and your great grandkids. Because if everybody want to go to America, if everybody want to go to America and want to be westernized, the left.
And I just want to give credit to Brother Dynas. He did a show about brain drain in Africa, and he talked about how West Africans are leaving West Africa to go to Europe to try to be educated. So many educated Africans are leaving because there's no, they're not, we have universities home in West Africa, but we're not rebuilding them. We're not building them up. We're not stabilizing them. And they're leaving to try to go to Europe, and they're getting caught in slavery in Liberia in Libya. You know, the migrants, they're getting caught, they're dying in the Mediterranean Sea trying to go live amongst the Europeans. And you know, this is a great problem. You know, so Africans for Africans, you know, we have to rebuild who we are. We have to realize that we are the future. We have to rebuild our resources in our homeland. And we need the most educated Africans to help us. You know, the most educated Africans, whether you've been educated by Europeans or whether you've been educated like Aliko Muhammad Dangote, the richest African in the world, in Nigeria, 21.6 billion, I believe. He was educated in Egypt. He was educated in Cairo. So this is the thing. A lot of African Americans, African Caribbeans or African Sub-Saharan have this belief that in order for them to be wealthy, they have to be educated by Europeans. That's a farce. The richest African in the world was educated in Egypt. He was educated in Africa, Alik Muhammad Dangote. So what is this belief that you need Europeans to be wealthy? You have the mentality and the belief that you ain't shit, that you without European, you ain't shit. You're not valuable. Where does this come from? The richest African in Forbes right now was educated by Africans in Egypt. In Egypt, he was educated in Egypt, in Africa. He didn't go to a European university. He went to a university in Africa. And Egypt is Africa, and it was taken over by Eurasian, Middle Eastern Arabs, just like most of North Africa. But the ancestors of that land were Black Africans, because we see the statues. You know, that the Napoleon tried to shoot the nose off of the Sphinx so that we wouldn't know who we were. Statues, we know that, you know, ancient Egypt is our civilization. We educated the Greeks and the Romans. They came to us to be civilized, to be educated. This is a fact. So we know who we are. We have no connection to our ancestors, but the key is ancestors. That's the key. That's the key. That is the door, the invisible door. The key is your ancestors. You know, that's just the reality. Once you understand that that's the invisible key, then you got it. You got it. And then you can build, you can get into African spirituality. You can stop having this Eurocentric negative idea about your spirituality that came from your ancestors. You know, once you realize that your ancestors is that key to your ancient future and to your future now.
Absolutely.
So
now go,
ahead, sir.
Yeah, well, I was going to just say, man. Well, I was going to say, finish your statement, then we can go ahead and go ahead.
Incredible experience. You know, this is an incredible experience. You know, I thank the ancestors. I thank the Creator, the power of God, the power of the Creator within us for allowing this experience to happen. Now we have to move forward. We have to come together, and we have to future and make changes and make a difference. And you know, I believe that is possible. I definitely believe that is possible.
Absolutely. So
facts.
Cool. So everybody, thank you so much for coming on. Really, really appreciate it. Make sure you guys share the video.
Brooklyn, New York.
Shout out to Brooklyn. Shout out to Equatorial Guinea in the house.
Word up. Shout out to the Southwest Philly. Real talk.
Southwest Philly in the house.
You know what I mean?
So
shout out.
So make sure search for Uhuru.com, you guys. Make sure you go on there, search for Uhuru.com. Make sure you go to dynastymirror.com as well. Nancy, thank you so much. Make sure you feel better, Nancy. But I'm coming to Paris, okay? Everybody's inviting me to Paris. So I gotta go see the diaspora in Paris. I'm coming. I told myself the only way I would go to Paris if I had a layover to go to Africa. But I am gonna come to Paris hopefully this year. I'm gonna come and visit. Don't know when, but I'm gonna come and visit Paris. Shout out to Nigeria as well. So search for Uhuru.com. Search for Uhuru.com. Make sure you go to dynastymirror.com. On social media, search for Uhuru on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. Everybody, thank you so much for supporting. Also, the Patreon is up as well. So Patreon, search for Uhuru. I have some goodies for you guys, for the people who subscribe or sign up. So again, make sure you guys are following me on social media, Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. I mean, all the platforms on there, because the information I put out, you know, everything's not on YouTube, so you might miss something. Example, the $318 flight deal. So make sure you guys are following me on social media as well. So Dynasty Mirror, search for Uhuru. Thank you, panel. I'll be back on later on today with hopefully with Dr. Sabi's son, grandson. I apologize. We're gonna chop it up. So Dynasty Mirror, search for Uhuru. Till next time.
Peace. Peace.